because every hit you just like we just scatter back out and come back together.
Every second of this fight was just pure fireworks, just ding ding, like.
This is our pitch in 2016. By day, we're making robots that help humanity, and by night, we're making robots that just kill each other.
Donald Hudson actually came up to me after ran up and was like, "That is the best fight I've ever seen."
Today we're talking to Valkyrie and Rotator
On this episode of
Behind the Battle.
All right, everybody, we're on with Leanne from Valkyrie. Leanne, how did you get started in robotics?
So I was actually on a robotics team in high school, and I remember being asked about it because I was like, I build robots. And people were like, oh, like battle bots. I'm like, no, I care too much. I can never see the thing I create be destroyed. Granted, still haven't too much. And then after high school, while I was in college for aerospace engineering at RIT, I mentored some teams, and actually Mike Jeffries, that's when I met him from Bombshell, because he was also part of the multidisciplinary robotics club. And then Overhaul happened, and Adam Burku was my roommate. He was working on the drivetrain, and we were just brainstorming insanely late one night in our living room, and I'm just like, I miss this. I want to play again. Found my way onto a disqualified team called Praying Mantis, which was supposed to be a shuffler robot. We did have it working, just the controls were kind of and so we got disqualified because we didn't have active enough of a weapon. And so we were stationed next to another team that I was told no, called Road Rash, which is where I met my driver and good friend, Fred Moore. And I just was like, hey, there's another season after this one. I'm gonna come back with my own team, and I already have a decent lead on how to fund it, and I want you to be on it. And so he was the first recruit. My old intern, Alex, was my second. And yeah, we just started to build up a team a year before it came back in 2018. So we had a trial run at RoboGames, learned how people work under pressure, and then adjusted, iterated, a little bit more set up first year for Valkyrie. So yeah.
Welcome back, Victor Soto from Team Rotator. What do you do when you're not battling robots?
I'm an engineer. I'm a systems engineer for Stryker. We actually make medical robots for orthopedic surgery. So it's kind of funny because this is our pitch in 2016. By day, we're making robots that help humanity, and by night, we're making these robots that just kill each other. We saw this robot that helps surgeons complete knee and hip surgeries. Because if you've ever seen a knee or hip replacement surgery, it's like carpentry tools. It's all manual. Like they got a mallet, they got a chisel, and they're banging on the bone and trying to cut it that way. And it's all freehand. So hope you have a good doctor that has really good hand-eye coordination, no cheating hands. So our robot actually has this cool system that it creates it gets patient information from like a CT scan. So they scan your bone, your knee, and it creates essentially a CAD out of it. Based off of that CAD, you can pre-plan what you want to cut. And you tell the robot, well, these are the boundaries where we don't want to cut. And the robot creates essentially this haptic or stereotactic boundary. So the robot doesn't actually do the cutting. The surgeon has to grab the robot arm and move it in. And it's a Dremel at the end of a robot arm, but you're guiding it. And as you're guiding it, you're cutting, the robot just prevents you from going outside of the area. So it feels like you're hitting an invisible wall. A lot of people call it compare it to the game Operation, where you touch the walls, it's like, can't go there. But this time it's actually not letting you do it also. It's a really cool system so that surgeons could do more accurate cuts, because when you have a more accurate cut, when you put the implant, it matches the bone better. So on patients that recover when they're walking, it feels more natural. And we've had cases of patients leaving the room and going back to their cars and driving away the next day, like walking on their own.
That's amazing.
It's really cool. Yeah.
You're in between BattleBot seasons right now. What do you do when you're not battling robots?
So currently I am working at a vertical farm startup that's working to make it completely autonomous. So like no humans needed to grow food for a lot of people in a warehouse. We use only 5% of the water, and then there's like all the nutrients and making things taste better and have longer shelf lives and all that. But yeah, I just do the robot stuff, like the harvesting, the moving crops around. I'm currently working on like figuring out ways to contain all of the stuff, because like some plants poison other plants. So if you're moving crops over a field, if something drips down, you can poison a whole entire set, and like that would be not profitable and not good. And so I'm working on basically making a floor to support all of the plants that get moved around.
Okay, that's super awesome. Oh my gosh.
I feel like I'm doing things that matter, especially with climate change and everything. There's only so much you can control, so at least I can like contribute there. Like there's going to be so many places that food can't be grown anymore in just the span of 10, 20 years. So getting ahead of that problem seems like something worth doing.
Since last we met, you've had a couple fights air. The fight with Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Man, this fight was insane. I just want to jump right into this fight. Your starting condition for Rotator was armored up. I mean, to the teeth. What was your strategy going into this fight with Valkyrie?
Yeah, so I was treating Valkyrie like I treated Ice Wave or Tombstone. And I went with, I call it like the plow configuration. Mm-hmm. So it's the same wheel guards that we've had in previous years, but it's a brand new plow or wedge, and it's flat now. I was pretty excited because I actually wanted to see how this new armor would hold up, and it's my favorite look for Rotate because there's just so much more gold.
Yeah.
Strategy was I had him with a plow. Historically, Valkyrie's been pretty unstable, and they tend to flip over like 100% of the time. And the robot's so tall that if they flip over, their blade would totally just fly over us, wouldn't hit us at all. So then if I went with a low blade and I can flip them over, I could just eat wheels all day long. But I think that was just too much had to happen for that strategy to work out. So it never worked out. So it was like Murphy's Law.
We've heard from Greg that the fight with Rotator is one of the best nonstop brawls in BattleBots history ever. How does that make you feel?
That's great. Donald Hudson actually came up to me after ran up and was like, "That is the best fight I've ever seen."
Oh my.
And I'm just like, yeah.
What was your strategy going in against Rotator?
Yell at Fred. Let him drive like hell. Fred and I have grown as friends so much in the last couple of years, and there's just something when you get to know someone so well, you can figure out what is best for you to be doing to help them. So I knew I just needed to yell everything that Fred either wasn't doing or didn't see. So it was a lot of center, because horizontals don't like the edges. So every time we would get whenever we'd have some space, because every hit you just we just scatter back out and come back together. And so every time that happened, I'd just be yelling center to make sure he was either getting a corner in or turning in the direction to keep us pointed at the other one. So yeah, it was just constant hit, go back, hit more, keep trying to get an edge, a corner. Straight up going to attribute the fact that we won a Rotator fight because coincidentally our one of our biggest fans, Aria, who actually got to see the robot and drive it before we shipped it, she's like, I want to say between 5 and 7, and her dad's going to hate me if I'm wrong. But her dad got to be added to a late edition team, Pain Train. After me running to deal with production, we're putting batteries in outside to go do our Rotator fight that we're freaking out over. I run into Aria's dad, Anthony, while he's FaceTiming her at the exact same time. And I'm just like, oh, he's like, hey, Aria, look, it's your favorite person. And they're about to go fight. And she's just like, good luck, Leanne. And I just was like, got it. We're going to win. We just got the best luck. We're going to win.
So we start the fight. We're both undercutters. And at some points, kind of like how I predicted, Valkyrie goes vertical, but they must have done something to their design because they had the reliability on point, and they weren't flipping over. And I was like, just, come on, flip them over. And then every once in a while, just hit them with a weapon, see what happens. 30-pound blade against a 70-pound blade, and you can see the rest is history. It lasted the full 3 minutes, but I did not expect that armor to tear all apart.
Every second of this fight was just pure fireworks, just ding, ding, how did you feel when that was over? When the matches ended? Because your face, you finished the match and you go,
Yeah. I was so mentally just fatigued after that match from all the focus. I think during my interview with Chris and Kenny, I didn't even know what I was responding. I was just exhausted. I'm so tired.
What can you tell me about the brand new Discovery Plus exclusive BattleBots Bounty Hunters?
BattleBots did something new this year where they have these bounty fights, and they're individual, separate little mini tournaments. You have to fight 3 to 4 bots to get to a final boss. And the boss is a legendary or very well-known robot that is just waiting for you. So they're like fresh, ready to go. And you have to go through the gauntlet to get to them. And then hope by the end, you're in a state where you can fight them and win a decent cash prize. We put our names down for fun because we definitely want to get the most out of Rotator, and we were chosen, and we got into one of the 6 bounty tournaments.
Yeah, and with Bronco of all bots.
Yes, yeah, we ended up matching up with Bronco. It was really interesting because Rotator's never gone up against a flipper robot before. We've gone up against hammers, full body spinners, vertical spinners, definitely a lot of them. We've gone destroyed a lot by vertical spinners, but never a flipper bot. So I thought that was really cool.
Not only did you get to fight Bronco, but before Bronco, you had to fight your way through Captain Shredder Raider and Mad Catter, which you demolished.
And then we moved on to Bronco. There was a close call in the beginning where Bronco almost flipped us. But then after that, there was a shot where I just went in, just dived into them, and was able to ride up their anti-horizontal plow and hit the top hinge of their flipper where the pneumatics are actually connected. One of the cool things about Rotator is just tends to hit other robots where they never expect to get hit. And even I don't expect to hit them there, and it just happened. It's just so cool. So one of the first hits, we disabled the flipper, and I'm like, what luck. I just got to keep going for the rest of the match, somehow trying to knock him out and not knock myself out. And they're tough and drove really well. I couldn't get really the wheels, but I was able to rip off a wheel guard after a lot of effort. But we were lucky. We didn't get flipped once, and we were able to deal a lot of damage. And we were able to get the unanimous judges decision.
What advice would you give to aspiring engineers and young girls out there?
Well, I know the advice that I was given that I think is part of what's made me stick with it, even at points where I question that, has been like, don't let the boys push you around. She said it in slightly more vulgar terms. It was the wife of my teacher advisor on my first robotics team, because she was seeing how like passionate and excited I was, and how much I liked, turning wrenches, pulling things apart. And she like hadn't seen a girl on the team do that before. And so when she saw that the boys were trying to like say, no, you can't do this, or like, no, you can do this instead because you're the girl, she just got so mad and said, don't let them tell you what to do. And I think that that's like a lot of it. I was lucky. I got to play Famous Person a year and a half ago now in Indiana for the VEX state championship at the Lucas Oil Stadium. And so I got to talk to a lot of kids, and there was like one really shy little girl who her mom told me that like, yeah, she's been getting pushed around, she's been getting bullied, she's really shy. And would you be willing to talk to her? And I was like, yes. Like, I have a very good memory. I know exactly how I like felt at her age. So let me take a stab at it. And so I like talked to her for like 10 minutes. I mean, hopefully it helps. Like, it's part of, I hate pants, but also I wear only skirts and dresses because I think that like being a girl, being okay with being feminine should be okay in STEM too. And I used to think there's such a big taboo to not put the two together. And now I'm just like, well, why? Like, things can be pretty. I can try to be pretty. And then I can also make pretty things or design stuff. And they shouldn't have to be in the same. But yeah, so I think probably just like be yourself. Don't let boys tell you what to do. Don't let people tell you what to do.
Man, again, Victor, this has been so fun. I appreciate you coming back on.
Thanks for having me. It's so much fun.
We're so excited to see what Valkyrie gets up to in season 5 and beyond.
Thanks. Take care.
Join us next time for more exclusive interviews on the Hexbug YouTube channel, and make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss a second of the action. Thanks for watching.